My name is Mette Bornstedt. I'm from Copenhagen, Denmark. You start kindergarten, we call it sort of kindergarten, at the age of 5 or 6. The year that you turn 5 or 6, everybody starts at the same time in August. And then basically you go to the same school, what we call elementary school, for 9 years. So it's probably what you would call like K to 9. After 9th grade, you can either do a 10th grade or you can go straight to high school. High school in Denmark is 3 years. And if you decide to do a 10th grade, you can also, after 10th grade, go to high school, and it will still be 3 years. You can also choose to go to a vocational school, say to become an electrician or something along those lines. In high school, you choose between a lot of different strands. The first 6 months of high school are like a lot of electives. So you try out different things and then you select which direction you want to take. So if you want to focus on, like, they're sort of set. So you can either, if you want to have psychology, then that's a set thing. If you want to study languages, then that's a set thing. Focus on math, another one. And that's one thing about the Danish system that I've experienced by like traveling and hearing about systems elsewhere, that the Danish system is quite rigid. Also when you go on to college, but we do operate with grades. And grades, by the way, grades matter when you apply to high school. So after the 9th grade, when you apply to high school, you make a priority, and depending on your grades, you get into the high school of your choice. Okay. There's a lot in Denmark. It's a very equal society. So in schools, it's all about getting everybody on the same page, or that is sort of the philosophy that we need everybody to understand things, which often results in boredom for the students that are sort of ahead. There have been a lot of discussions on how to tackle that issue, whether elite schools would be okay, but in Denmark it would be wrong to call them elite schools because that just clashes with the culture. Like elite, just people don't like that term basically. So it's how to use a discourse that is not sort of offensive to the population in that sense. The purpose of school. When you ask like that, I think of how the current government has this very ambitious aim that by 2015 they want 95% of the young population of youth to have finished like high school degree, which is an insane amount of the population. So and really right now I feel that we just educate people to educate people. There is no greater scheme to it. So it's just, I think rather than looking at restructuring the way the system is built and finding sort of the flaws in the system, we just try to have as many people educated as possible and hope that will solve our problems. Well, first of all, I think it's that we don't encourage brighter students to sort of use their abilities. We don't because we have this notion of equality and for instance we have this unwritten law called the law of Jante, which is sort of a cultural thing in Denmark, and basically it states that don't think that you are better than anyone else. That's sort of a motto that penetrates Danish society and in a lot of ways. So standing out and being good at something is not like, we're very humble. Also, if we do achieve great things, it's always like Danes will not brag about it. So I think not encouraging very bright students to maximize their potential is a problem. And also, I think integration of immigrants is a huge problem. And I happen to just have written a paper on that topic, so I could talk about that for a long time. But briefly, the problem is that we deny mother tongue teaching to immigrants from non-European countries. And right now, a big societal problem in Denmark is simply that first generation and second generation immigrants will drop out of school. Both out of elementary school, the K-9, but also if they do continue on to high school or vocational studies, the dropout rates are tremendous. No, would be the short answer. They did reform the high school about 5 years ago. When I went to high school, it was different. There were only 2 tracks, so you could we called it either you were a student of humanities or you're a student of math. So those were the 2 tracks. Whereas now they opened it up so you could pursue other interests like psychology or social studies or maths or science. So that's sort of a new thing. So it was more rigid before. It's less rigid, but still rigid. But in, say, an elementary school, no, there's no, like, the government cut funding. Say, back to the mother tongue teaching issue, the previous government cut funding for that in 2002. The new government is showing no signs of introducing, like, of funding it again. Well, my immediate answer would be politicians, like the Ministry of Education, because there is all this evidence out there that say that how mother tongue teaching is important, and there's a lot of evidence showing that if you and also that kids have different intelligences, and that we're all not meant to be math geniuses or language geniuses, so maybe altering the system in a way that sort of caters to different intelligences. I think politicians are essentially responsible for the change, and in a country with 5.5 million people, we should be able to try out to come up with some new model, try out, experiment, and change things, see what works and what doesn't. One of the things I'm learning here is the tremendous importance of language, and I think in Denmark we are a little wary because we're such a homogenous people. We've always spoken Danish. We've spoken Danish for so long that it's not in any law that Danish is the national language of Denmark, because it's just taken for granted because that's what we always spoke. And now, so in the era of globalization, I think we need to reconsider and